What makes a tango is largely due to its distinctive music. Tango music has a very important influence on the dancing at the milonga, as it creates a particular atmosphere and mood. It also provides structure, as different musical sets are played of usually 4 songs, with an intermission in between to permit couples to separate and reform. I have often imagined the dance floor as being flooded by dozens of tiny waves, hitting the banks and draining away, like a very deep breath. I was first moved to dance the tango by its music, and it is still my main desire, to follow its melodies and rhythms. But I had to come to terms with the poetries of the tango that Savigliano identifies as, quote, overwhelmingly written by men, end quote, dwelling on melancholic events, leading to an over-analytical and pessimistic view, lost friends and lovers, the distant idolized mother, jealousy and murders, life's many miseries. As a follower, I am mainly an instrument in the leader's embrace that translate the leader's interpretation of music and lyrics into the dance. The purpose of this paper is to consider the world of the milonga as a micro-society within Buenos Aires society, and observing both, I have encountered a pragmatic repetition of social and gender behaviors widely accepted and seldom contested. However, as there appears to be a contemporary global pressure for integration of differences, whether ethnic, social, economic, of age, religious, musical, and indeed of gender, I have encountered a distinct change between my visit in 2001 and my visit in 2007, mainly due to an innovation in tango dance technique and the appearance of electronic tango music in the late 90s. In a milonga, one can usually dance other dance styles, played to encourage a change of dynamic, and salsa dancing was probably accountable for the release of the tight embrace in the traditional tango, which translated into more freedom within the couple. As this tango, referred to as tango nuevo, is more dynamic and requires more space, the traditional milongas with its strict code was not an option for dancing anymore, and alternative spaces were open, where the code is more relaxed. Less suits and more jeans and trainers, no tables around the dance floor but sofa and benches instead. Also, women ask men to dance too, peeling off from their roles as wallflowers. These alternative spaces are also called milongas. Electronic tangos rarely indulge in languid or desperate romanticism, as in the traditional tangos, and one is therefore transported into the dancing with a different approach, with more emphasis on rhythm than melody, or on movement rather than passion. My observations at milongas included also personal active interventions to gather informal responses, mainly suggesting counter moves when following and dancing the male role with a woman, and sometimes with a man. These are examples of my interventions. On one occasion, in a traditional milonga, but after 4 a.m. when the code is more relaxed, towards the end of my first dance with a male, I initiated my own counter move, to challenge the lead and stretch the boundaries of my role as a follower, interpreting his movement and the music. He resisted a few times and finally told me, "I am leading." To which I replied, "I am dancing." Silence. We went back to our seats. Dinzel's warning is clear, quote, "The woman who dares to converse, to try a dialogue, to express her own responses to the music, that woman is often suppressed by the man, who performs his dancing in a monologue kind of attitude." End quote. In another occasion, at a very crowded traditional milonga, I asked my American female friend if she would dance with me, as the tangos played were my favorites. As I was leading her around the dance floor within a firm embrace, low gaze, and simple dancing, I could sense a subtle, curious puzzlement around us. We kept going for 4 songs, during which time I was dreading that someone would politely ask us to leave the dance floor, as it often happens if one goes against the rules. But nobody did, and my partner was later asked to dance by many men, perhaps to be shown the real tango. The general understanding for role interchange in Buenos Aires is to attend a gay milonga, where male and female homosexual can enjoy same-gender dance partnering, and where heterosexual dancers are numerous and welcome. I have attended the 4th anniversary of the only regular gay milonga in Buenos Aires to find that the stereotypes of macho and mistresses were partially recreated by whoever was following or leading. In some alternative milongas, role interchange is also permitted. I could not see how or why sexual preference could dictate the place where to go and dance, particularly because gay milongas are not so frequent as the traditional ones. Besides, if one follows the code, does gender matter? It does, but to a certain extent. I resolved to purchase services from a female taxi tango dancer to lead her at traditional milongas because I simply knew I could not enter the game of cabeceo. It seemed that as a business transaction, the gender blur is tolerated. Taxi dancers are normally male since, as I mentioned earlier, women outnumber men at most milongas. Those interventions of mine would have not been easily tolerated during my first visit in 2001, but one could sense even then that something was definitely yet slowly changing. Kisgard's article, published in 1999, inquires whether piropos is a dying form. She reports quotes from a woman, "I don't hear many piropos these days," a taxi driver, "There is no time," and a tango dancer, "Sadly it is." Asado seems to keep its presence as a daily social activity. However, it is sometimes replaced by fast food and healthier vegetarian options. I have witnessed many small interesting interventions in the traditional structure of the milongas and of tango dancing. There is a fertile germination of contemporary ideas both in Buenos Aires and in the many milongas around the world, from Tokyo to Rome, from Reykjavik to Johannesburg. I would like to conclude by saying that beyond the stereotype heterosexual tango roles, sometimes I see two people, dancing in such an unlikely combination of unison and canon, so perfect and precise, that from where I'm watching, even for just a moment, gender, along with ethnicity, social extraction, age and religious beliefs, just disappears. Thank you for listening.